Hi everyone, and welcome to the Libra August 2021 Spiritual Connection reading. This is I Am Illuminated Tarot and Meaning-Based Spiritual Coaching Services. I am Lauren. Hi and welcome. So this is one of 3 connection readings I complete each month for each sign. The first is our self-connection reading, where we bring awareness to your unique, internal, singular, authentic self. And the second reading, which is this one here, is our spiritual connection reading. This is where we take a look at how you are connecting that unique, internal, authentic self with your external environment to really be able to unlock that part of yourself in your external environment so that it can not only be of service to others, but also allow you to tap into that emotional fulfillment that comes with understanding and seeing your place and purpose. And then the third reading is our love connection reading, which I do later in the month, which really helps it's more of a free form reading where I take a look at the general energies of love, any blockages you might be experiencing, and any messages that come through regarding either romantic love or just love in general for you. So Libra, let's get right into your reading here. So we're gonna first pull a card for your energy. We have one that popped right out here, the Six of Pentacles. So the Six of Pentacles is a card that focuses on balancing in the tangible world, in the physical. So this is kind of a lower, so the major arcana version of this would be the Justice card. This is kind of the lower energy of that justice. And you can kind of see that represented here with, the individual holding the scales. And really the energy that this sits with is that knowledge of give and take and the balance between those two. It's that element of understanding that at any given point, we could be on either side of those scales, that we might have to be the individual who is needing assistance, needing help in a tangible way, and then at another time, we may be actually the person in the position to give to another. It also harnesses the energy of understanding that what we put out through our efforts in the tangible world are what we will actually eventually get back. So what we put out in time and energy and money is what we will eventually have returned to us. It's a really actually positive energy to be sitting with. This is an energy of, I feel for the majority of you, of really understanding and kind of balancing out where it's basically an awareness of where you're choosing to put your time, energy, and money. That's what I'm getting intuitively coming through from this card, is that you guys are kind of taking a summation of your life up to this point and realizing where you've put out energy, really where you should have, gained something back, and are in this place of realizing now, wanting to balance out this energy, of not wanting to give more than you receive, or, receiving more than you give, and understanding, I think, really perhaps maybe some of you are seeing where you've given too much and have yet to receive. So now I'm going to go ahead and pull a card for the energy of your external environment to really see what Spirit is asking. I feel, Libra, like you might have gotten this card last month as well. But this is the Empress. So this is the energy sitting in your external environment. This is what Spirit is asking you to engage this knowledge or this energy with your external environment, because this is going to be what you're learning about yourself. This is going to be what the energy that you actually are engaging and activating. So the Empress. The Empress is a card actually that is harnesses the energy of your sign, Libra. So this is a card that harnesses the energy of Venus, and both you and Taurus are ruled by the planet Venus. So this is, I think, for some of you, really learning that lesson, because the Empress herself, this is the major arcana card, really brings the knowledge here, or the really denotes the energy of understanding that we can create anything that we need in our external environment. That comes from within. And I love in this depiction that she has a crown of stars on her head, because there's this element here of understanding that we tapping into the energy of the star card in the major arcana in the tarot, which is basically having our northern star or our hope and dream, what guides us as a specific, singular, unique being. Not what guides others, but what guides us specifically. And so there's this quality here of understanding that we can create for ourselves. We can give birth to the tangible experience that we would like to experience, that's unique to us, that's based on our big hope and dream for ourselves. And that we have that ability from within to do that. That it's almost like, you guys, the lesson that I'm kind of seeing here between the two is stepping out from a place where you felt perhaps that you've had to give a little to get a little. Or that maybe there has been an imbalance where you've been maybe in a position where you've had to receive and you weren't able to kind of give. Or vice versa, you've been only in a position where you've been giving and haven't really received. But that there's this lesson being learned here that you are the Empress. That you have this ability to create for yourself the reality that you would like from your own guiding star. And that now you're realizing it isn't just about this little the little bit of giving time, energy, and money. It's about, no, let me actually harness that into a much more powerful and guided way, so that what I get back is truly what I'm intending to create for myself. Okay, so now I'm going to pull some cards here for basically to help show us some of the challenges that you might be facing in what I like to call the void. And if you guys would like to learn more about the void, there is a video link in the description box below as part of the Triad of Engagement that really demonstrates what the void is and why it's important to be aware of it and how to navigate around it. But the void is what we create as a self-protective barrier between our unique internal authentic self and exposure to potential ridicule or hurt, pain, disappointment from our external environment as we engage that unique internal vulnerable part of ourselves with our external environment. So there's this quality here of, as we move from childhood into adulthood, all those parts of our unique self that we've actually hidden away from the world, because each time we tried to bring them out, we were hurt, or we were embarrassed, or we tried to work with an ability and we failed at something. And so instead of continuing to grow on an emotional and spiritual level, which is what we are called to do as we work with those internal authentic parts of ourselves, we instead hide them. Because we're not really equipped, we don't really live in a society where we are given the tools to understand that we grow on an emotional and spiritual level as much as we grow on a physical and mental level. And especially in America here, because that's where I live, so this is where I'm basing my experience on, my perspective, is we have a culture that's really focused on only 2 out of the 4 aspects of our human experience, which is the physical and the mental. And we don't allow ourselves to really focus and highlight the spiritual and the emotional, which is where we actually can tap into that feeling of emotional fulfillment through realizing our own unique spiritual potential in the world. So just like where we can learn about our physical potential by, let's say, pushing ourselves in sports or pushing ourselves on some physical level to grow or go to the gym and get stronger, we can do the same on the spiritual level. And we end up getting a chance to better understand our place and purpose and feel that sense of belonging more from developing that spiritual awareness, and continuing then to grow that, to connect that with our external environment. And that's really what ends up being of service to the greater collective, because in just living as you, as your unique soul, your unique tie to spirit, you get a chance to really fill that necessary and needed role in your external environment. Okay, so the challenge that we have here is the first card. So let me just go over what the cards here. We have the Ace of Swords, Judgment, Prince of Wands, which is the Knight of Wands in the traditional tarot. We have the Moon and the Four of Wands. So the Ace of Swords. The Ace of Swords is a card of clarity. It's a card of our personal truth. This is being given, and it's interesting because I feel like this card has come up quite a bit in the readings this month. There's this element of gaining clarity around a personal truth. Now, this card can be, I like to call it, or liken it to, the story of Excalibur, where there is one person who can go and pull the sword Excalibur out of the stone, because that one person was always meant to basically have that sword. And that's what the Ace of Swords is. This is our personal, unique Excalibur sword. This is our truth, our personal truth that we were gifted with at the time of our creation, that is unique to us. It's also what allows us to have clarity and to be able to be successful in understanding where we fit, because we're seeing from the eyes of our personal truth. Where this can become a challenge instead of a very helpful and liberating principle is where we get disconnected from our truth, where we try to hide our truth. Now, this came out actually as one of the first cards for the Virgo's reading. So you may be actually interacting with a Virgo. Might be worth it to also watch that reading if that resonates with you. But what I described there for Virgo is what I'm going to describe for you here as well, because it's the same challenge. It's that realization that we each have this sword, but how we wield it, well, we have to learn how to wield it. Just like giving a child a sword can be a very dangerous thing. Our own personal truth wielded the wrong way can actually hurt both ourselves and others. So this can look like, when we can hurt others with it, is when we are wielding it in a very aggressive, I would say offensive way, where we are trying to throw our truth on others, not realizing that everybody has their own sword and that they can come into, that we're almost always looking for battle with the sword. And we might end up speaking our truth in ways that wound another. The same can be said for hurting ourselves, where we choose not to go and practice using our sword. And so each time we go to bring it out, we are kind of clumsy with it and we end up hurting ourselves. Now, what does that translate into in, an actual real life example? This can look like us trying to wield our truth, let's say in a work environment, but not understanding how to communicate this correctly, so that we end up maybe getting fired over and over again from a job or from different jobs. This can be where we maybe try to wield, again, our sword of truth in a way in interpersonal relationships, where we keep trying to express ourselves, and instead, instead of realizing, I got a negative response the first time, I'm going to try to turn this, I'm going to try to learn how to wield this without, bringing it back around to cut myself or whatever. This can be where we end up constantly trying to express our truth, and to another individual and it's not well received, and it ends up with them leaving us. And then at that point, that's when we realize, or that's when we believe that it's our truth that others can't accept, that we're not capable of perhaps being loved for our truth. And it's not that we're not capable of being loved, or that our truth is not worthy of another's love or respect. It's that it's just simply how we're wielding it. And this happens when we are not allowing our internal, unique, authentic selves to be engaged with the external environment in a open way, to where we are aware of how we are wielding this truth, and realizing that it's a practice makes perfect. That maybe, kind of going out there, and I'm trying to think of, like, let's say your truth is based around the concept of what is fair. And you see let's actually bring this more into a very detailed example. Let's say your personal truth is that let's say maybe it's, why am I having such a hard time, Libra, coming up with a good example for you? Let's see. Maybe your personal truth is that, again, because it's your experience, your personal truth is that people should be liberated on a sexual level, and that no one should be defined, that you personally do not feel that a sexual experience should be between just a man and a woman, or even just two men or two women, that people should be free and open with their perspective of, how they sexually express themselves. Now, maybe this is something that you have continued to, you maybe realize at a young age, and you've kind of maybe experimented with it, but it's a hot button issue for you. It's your truth. And so anytime anybody comes close to you, you basically preface your interaction with them with, well, this is what I believe. And if you don't believe what I believe, then leave me alone, or you're stupid. And you're like instantly bring out your sword to combat somebody else. Or this could be where you have a very specific viewpoint on how things should be done in the workplace. And you have a very specific, if things are not done in this way, or people are not provided this kind of direction, or you do not feel that people, are being respected on this level, that you are then going to draw your sword, march into the boss's office, and you're going to tell them the way that it should be. And it's not that your truth, your perspective is wrong. Perhaps actually that place of business could benefit from your perspective, could benefit from maybe treating their employees better, or allowing for more, let's say, balanced exchange of ideas. But it might be how you are coming across, drawing your sword and expressing this truth, that then is providing you with a negative response. And that's where we can really kind of get out of sync with wanting to express our truth. Because after we've experienced that a few times over, we might say, well, why do I even bother? Why do I even bother telling anybody about, sharing my truth, sharing my ideas, sharing the clarity that I have around this topic? And what I'm seeing here is why this is your challenge at this point, is because we have judgment directly following this. And it was interesting because Virgo's reading also had judgment as actually their last card. Now, what I'm seeing, so judgment is a very powerful card. It's a very powerful card that denotes dramatic change. And not always on a physical outward level. This can denote dramatic change from an internal perspective, meaning that you are kind of hearing the call to rise up as a new and heightened version of self. And when this comes into play, this can often bring in your personal truth. This can be seeing your personal truth in a new way. This can be being asked almost through this internal change of perspective to engage with this personal truth again, but again, from a different place of awareness. But what I've found in my own personal life, and what I've found also in hearing the stories of others, is that when we go through this kind of reawakening, this reemerging of self, that often pushes us to face our personal truth, to face what we have not been working with, and perhaps also where we've been kind of clumsy, and to now, from a new elevated perspective, better understand how to utilize this. This is almost like one of those moments where if you think of a child trying to, let's say, ride a bike, and they've tried and they've tried and they've tried, and they've fallen off and they failed and they just can't seem to get the hang of it, and they go to bed, and then they wake up the next day and it's kind of almost like this fresh, like, oh, wait a second, I get it. And they run downstairs and are like, help me get on my bike. I think I understand now. And it's like this, almost this like where something clicks and you see where your truth fits. And that's what I'm getting kind of here, is that there's this element of kind of maybe prior to this point, not quite understanding, Libra, where your personal truth fit into the greater collective experience. That you maybe kind of kept trying to clumsily work with it here and bring it out a little bit there, and that you just weren't quite able to make it work. And so you just kind of hid it away. And now you're being called up. As part of this lesson in learning what you can create for yourself out here, is part of that is learning what you want to create from, and how to utilize this personal truth. Because then we have the Prince of Wands, which is the Knight of Wands in the traditional tarot. And this is kind of the energy you're meant to face, deal with, embody. So the page, or I'm sorry, I keep saying the page. The Knight of Wands in traditional tarot is a card that focuses on acting from a place of passion, but acting on what feels good, of going out there and kind of jumping into that adventurous sense of life again from a place of passion, from getting a chance to go out there and really wield through passion, being able to better understand where your truth fits. So there is this quality of almost like getting into this energy of movement, of maybe up to this point, you've been sitting with this energy of like, okay, I give a little bit here to get a little bit here. There's almost like this limiting mindset here is what I'm getting, which normally doesn't come through with this card, but there's this element here of a limiting mindset, which is, I have to keep everything balanced. Now, Libra, obviously, you're a card of balance. The Justice card is actually your card in the tarot. This can also denote that on a lower level. And there's this quality of you always trying to see both sides, trying always to not take more than you give or give more than you take. And now it's almost like there's this element of like, no, I'm not going to play it small anymore. I'm not going to give just enough based on what I can receive. And I'm not going to just take what others give me and, think that that's good enough. Instead, I'm realizing life is about passion. Life's about what feels good again. And I think this is what you're being asked to step into, is to like shake off the dust a little bit and step into what feels good for you. Where does your truth actually align with passion, with your passion, with taking action from a place of passion? This is a card that really, when you think of the energy of the Knight of Wands harnesses the energy of Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is a sign that I always like to call the spiritual adventurer. It's the card of the person who wants to kind of go around and meet new people and see new cultures and engage with others to be able to gain more information, to gain more clarity as to really where that, where doing what feels good fits, gaining more clarity on their own internal passions, but also better understanding even their own personal truth through doing that, because they're able to interact with all kinds of different people and places and situations and, again, cultures, and be able to see, oh, okay, there's more to just my limited perspective. There's more than just getting back this little bit that I've been getting. There's a whole wide world out there for me. And then we move into, on the other side of this, coming out, we have the Moon and the Four of Wands. And there's this element here of kind of, the Moon is a card that can denote a lack of clarity, of being called up and out by spirit on an intuitive level to leave your comfort zone and be able to, it's almost like being asked, can you walk this path on faith? I mean, that's kind of what I've always felt that way with, there's always this image of this lobster kind of being called up out of the depths and being asked to journey towards, it looks like the kind of mountains in the distance. So when you think about that, there's this quality of being asked to leave your comfort zone and, just like the lobster has to leave his comfort zone of being in the water to then go out onto land and go towards what seems to be in the distance, possibly this very scary barrier of, how will I even get over those mountains? And what you're being asked to do is, can you walk that path on faith? Because you're being asked specifically by Spirit to do that, to go out and work with your passions and step outside of your comfort zone, because what you're going to learn about yourself and in walking that path on faith is going to illuminate some aspect here of where you can build a foundation from a place of passion. The Four of Wands can also denote marriage. It can denote also just a celebration, a momentary pause to be able to understand how far you've come from taking action from a place of passion. But what I'm seeing here with the Moon and the Four of Wands, there's a little bit of this going beyond, kind of going outside of the comfort zone here, possibly to the point where, because this is your final challenge, so this is your initial internal challenge, and this is your challenge then as you start to bridge into your realization here that you can step into this Empress energy, that you have the power to create for yourself. And the Four of Wands, in the fact that this kind of denotes a potential marriage or a previous foundation that was built from maybe perhaps a place of passion, that there's this element of going out, getting outside of your comfort zone, and perhaps seeing this in a new light. Seeing a foundation that's already been built, whether it is a marriage, a partnership, a work endeavor that maybe at one point that you had been passionate about, and seeing this now from a new perspective of either I'm going to continue to build on this, and I'm going to continue to build on this from the place of being the Empress, realizing I don't have to wait to receive a little bit to then give a little bit more. I can just create it. And I'm creating it for myself. But from a place of passion, from this awareness. Now, this could also be seeing a relationship in a foundation, again, built from passion, which can be a committed romantic partnership, and that perhaps you're seeing this in a new way. That maybe this partnership has been limiting you, and you can either make that choice now in reviewing this from a new perspective of better understanding of where your personal truth fits now, and better understanding of what it feels like to just do what feels good for you. And that the final challenge hurdle might be having to address a limiting partnership that won't allow you to continue to build from this place of passion. And this could also be limited on a workplace, that maybe you started working at some place from this place of passion, and you've realized maybe now that there's no further you can go. And that it's time for you to step in and let go of this little bit of this like back and forth and realize, no, I'm on my horse now. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be that spiritual adventurer, and I'm going to see where my new perspective on my truth fits. I'm going to go out there from this place of empowerment. I'm going to get out of my comfort zone, and I'm going to understand that it is something that is meant to help me create and grow on top of this foundation that's already been started from a place of passion. And it's going to help me be able to tap into my ability to regain my sense of power and clarity on what I'm creating for myself. What do I want to create? That's a good question to ask yourself. If you could create the life of your dreams out here, what would you want to create for yourself? Now, I feel like I've asked this question to you. I'm not sure if it was in your reading or another, but I feel like I was asking the exact same question here. If you could build a life for yourself that allowed you to live your truth from a place of, wow, this is fun, what would that look like? What would you want to celebrate? What would you want to have others celebrate with you? I'm almost getting this just intuitive message of asking yourself, what would the best supportive relationship, what would you want others and yourself to celebrate in a great supportive relationship? What would make you feel good when you think about the ideal life for yourself? That again just feels fun. Because when we tap into fun, that's where you get to tap into fulfillment at the same time. Can you imagine what it would feel like if you got a chance to just live from your personal truth? That you got a chance every day to understand where your perspective fits and how that can actually be. This is where we get a chance to actually see, I think, work in a new perspective. That we don't have to chain ourselves to a job that doesn't engage our personal truth, or doesn't engage us on a passionate level, or doesn't push us outside of our comfort zone, challenge us to grow continually on a spiritual level. And what would it look like if we got a chance to have a job that actually utilized our truth and perspective, that had a chance to allow us to, from this new heightened perspective, we got to have a job that felt like we were just having fun. And you got to share that with others. You got to celebrate that with others. What would that look like? So now I'm going to pull cards down here for the Triad of Engagement, which is the principles of curiosity, courage, and contemplation, to gain some additional insight into questions that you can ask yourself here to really help kind of engage with navigating through this block. So we're going to start with pulling an energy oracle card for the principle of curiosity. And this is where we're going to build in a question that we will each ask ourselves to help make this reading a little bit more specific to you, the individual, because this is a general reading. So this message can take, all kinds of forms. But we're going to build in a question that you can ask yourself to kind of open the door. So when we're talking about curiosity, we are talking about openness, receptivity, optimism, and again, opening that door of bringing this back to you. Again, where perhaps have you been playing it small in working with your personal truth? Maybe where did you not even realize your personal truth kind of fit, and now that you're being called up to work with it in a new way, with this new heightened perspective, being asked to step in and have fun with it instead of maybe seeing it as this burden that you've seen it up to this point. Let's see here. That's way too many cards. Can you give me just one or two cards for curiosity for Libra about their challenge, awareness? Goddess of the Moon. Perfect place to start here. Goddess of the Moon in this deck speaks to, I mean, it directly ties to the moon here, the moon card, but there's an element here of tapping into your intuition, of being able to go within and understand. There's a little bit of the High Priestess card coming through from the Major Arcana in the Tarot, where there's this element of tying into your intuition to realize that all answers lie within, and that the messages that come from yourself are meant to be honored and acted on. And so when we're thinking about this as kind of opening yourself up and being curious and tying in this and this reading to being very specific to you, the question I'd actually ask myself, as this is directly relating to the moon energy here, kind of, can you walk this path on faith, is where on an intuitive level do you know you are being called now to go out of your comfort zone? What has changed in your life that has challenged your current, basically everything you've experienced to date? Because when judgment calls, this is a massive internal shift, which can then lead to a massive external shift, because we choose to take actions now from a very different perspective. And so, again, bringing this back to making this reading specific to you, where on a intuitive level, when you sit with yourself, do you know that there has been this massive internal change, this awakening around your personal truth and how to wield it, and this desire to step into a place of feeling of fun again and passion? And where is that causing you to have to step out of your comfort zone, where you might have to leave something behind? But what is coming through on that intuitive level? Like when you sit there and you sit with yourself and you just kind of open yourself up to whatever comes in, what are you being intuitively guided towards? Now, this could look like really wanting to go back to school and pursue, you see now perhaps where your internal truth actually can fit, and that means having to go back to school. Maybe you realize, wow, my internal truth is one of wanting to go back to help people. Maybe you want to go back and become a doctor. Maybe you finally realize, like, wow, instead of me like constantly harping on how the American medical practice is so messed up and how no one is aware of, how to keep themselves healthy on both a physical and a spiritual and a holistic level, instead of just constantly harping on that with other people, or maybe having a complete lack of awareness of that with yourself, maybe now you've realized, wow, my focus here is that I am passionate about a holistic look at health, but I want to share this now on a place where I get to live this every day. And that might mean that you have to step out of your comfort zone and go back to school at the age of 35 or 40 or later, to go back and maybe get your naturopathic doctor's degree or just a doctor's degree in general. Or this could look like the fact that you feel that there's so many injustices in one specific area of your life experience, and it's so frustrating for you to constantly keep watching this area of injustice, and suddenly you have this opportunity now to maybe step into working for a cause that will help combat or counteract this area of injustice or bring awareness to it. But that might mean having to get out of your comfort zone. Maybe you've never worked for a nonprofit that focuses on this kind of activism, or you've maybe never worked outside the home at all. Maybe you've been a stay-at-home parent and now you're being asked to actually step into a paid position where this is your focus. Or maybe maybe you're being asked to step into a position where you have to publicly speak on a topic. But either way, or any of those options, there's going to be something right now that when you sit and you think about something that's changed in your life, a perspective that's changed, it's going to also call into play getting you outside of your comfort zone. What is that? On an intuitive level, what is that? What are you feeling called to do that would feel fun? That if you had to do this for the rest of your life, what would feel like, wow, I get to do this for the rest of my life? This is amazing. What would that be? Now we're going to pull a Power of Surrender card for the Principle of Courage, which this is where we get to tap into true self-empowerment. This is where we get a chance. Courage is what allows us to tap into that place of acting on behalf of our own unique, internal, authentic self. So when you think about asking yourself this question, what's changed? And where am I being called now to step out of my comfort zone? Courage is where you actually then get a chance to tap into taking action. So that might have to be taking action on figuring out how to go back to medical school. Taking action on, having to sit your family down and say, Mom or Dad wants to go back to work and he's gonna start working in this place that focuses on this specific area of activism. Or this is where you get to take the scary, you step into courage to actually speak in front of large audiences, to share your message to those who may or may not respond. But it doesn't mean that you are not meant to keep sharing your message. So we have your message for courage. We have surrender your desire to control people. It says being over-controlling can sabotage relationships. To more effectively achieve your goals, back off, regroup, and give the situation some breathing room. So this is a wonderful, when we're thinking about taking action. When we think about taking action from a place of courage, that means we are taking action on our own behalf. That we are taking the action, making the decision to take the actions that we can. We are not seeking to control another. We are not seeking to control an external situation. We are simply choosing to take action on this level. And this is a beautiful reminder of basically what I was just saying, where you may be asked to share a message, to get in front of multiple people, to get on a social media platform like this, like YouTube, to share a perspective, or to actually just get on a platform in front of a bunch of different people to share an idea or a concept. And now the understanding is that not everybody's going to maybe like what you have to say, or what you have to say will not resonate with everybody. But that doesn't mean that you should make the attempt either to continue to force feed what you're trying to say on them so that they get it, or in turn try to change and alter your message in the hope that they'll react and respond differently. Instead, it's about you just have to take action from a place of intuitive knowing and awareness to say, I just feel called to speak on behalf of this cause. And maybe half of the people in the audience are going to walk out going, I don't care about this cause. Well, that's fine. That's on them everybody's living their own unique, internal, authentic experience. It's not on you to force others to carry your torch, to utilize your Excalibur. In fact, most people are not going to be able to pull your sword of truth out of the stone, so to speak. That's on you to do personally. And how you wield it is your choice. It's not on you to tell people to love and appreciate your sword. They can admire through how you choose to wield it, and they can sit and say, wow, that's amazing. But when you go to give it to them, they don't have to take it and use it. And they may not use it the same way that you would anyways. So there's this element here of kind of just releasing your tie to what other people think. Also, if this looks like you maybe having to tell your family that you want to go back to pursue work or go back to school, that you can't control their outcomes. Having the courage to tell them, hey, mom or dad wants to go back to work, or mom or dad wants to go back to school. If their reaction is, what? No, you're crazy. Or how are we going to do this? Like let's say you're the breadwinner, but telling them that you want to go back to school, or vice versa. You're the one who's always been in the home taking care of everybody, but now you want to go out into the work world. And they're like, well, what are we going to do? Who's going to take care of us? Who's going to cook dinner at night? Or be there when we get home from school? It's not on you to control their outcome or to control their reaction, to say, well, how come you're not happy for me? And how dare you tell me I can't do this? Instead, it's on you to then, through sharing your truth, wielding your sword in a more learned way, to say, well, this is what I'm being guided to do. And for myself, this is what I want to do. This is the outcome I am hoping to achieve by making these decisions. And that's a much more empowered way to share your truth, to share the why behind the reasons you're choosing to courageously step into taking action. I want to fight for this cause now, and that involves me going into work on behalf of this cause, because I feel that it will create the world I want you, my family, to live in someday. And that's a much more inspired way to wield your sword of truth than to simply, when somebody doesn't respond well to it to begin with, to just stab them with it. To say, well, that's my truth, so be it, and if you don't support me, well, screw you. Instead, to say, this is my perspective, and this is where I feel I can truly be of use and of service. And in me doing that, I'm going to, in turn, feel so much happier and healthier. And I hope then I can be the best person to the rest of you again. That mommy or daddy has to feel good about themselves. And in doing so, I hope that allows me to be the best parent to my children, and to allow to be the example to my children as well, as to what happens when you follow your truth from a place of passion. Okay, and then for our final card here, we are going to focus on the principle of contemplation. And contemplation is where we get to reflect on the consequences of our actions. We get to connect the dots between where we were curious, where we chose to take action, and then what happened from that. It's also where we get to integrate these lessons, and we get to continue self-learning through direct experience. So we have Sisterhood of the Rose. It says beauty and devotion, priestess, mystic, teacher. So there's this quality here that comes, I always, for me personally, this card actually, when it comes out, I always think of Taurus or Libra, because there's this element of that Empress quality that comes through here, where you, Libra, have this ability to really tap into the beauty of life, being ruled by Venus, and that's a superpower that you can kind of bring out in the general collective experience. Not every sign harnesses that kind of energy and can tap into that. And so there's this element here of, for contemplation, really understanding, seeing the beauty behind the experience you're going through right now, seeing the beauty behind your spiritual growth, recognizing the beauty of how you want to channel the beauty of yourself, your own personal truth. It's almost like being able to hold up your sword of truth, which is you, and being able to shine it in the light and see the beauty of it, to actually see the innate carvings perhaps on the handle, to be able to see how it, glints in the sunlight, to be able to feel how well balanced it is in your hand, and then to understand how you can wield this, to be able to actually then bring about and foster more beautiful elements in your external environment, to be able to bring out the beauty that's held within and be able to share and teach that through what you choose to create in your external environment. All right, and for one final message, I'm going to pull out just some additional clarifier cards for your energy and your external energy to see if there's any additional messages that want to come out. Now, this can look like a specific message, or it can just be kind of an additional message. So we have, for your energy, we have Page of Wands, and we have Two of Wands. And now for the Empress, let's see what's coming through here. Any additional messages for the Empress? Any additional clarifying cards for the Empress? Any additional messages for the Empress? I have the Queen of Wands. Beautiful. Okay. Page of Wands and Two of Wands. This is about, Page of Wands is reconnecting with your eternal flame of passion, but coming from it from this kind of innocent, childlike beginner's mindset of wanting to just go out and have fun, of being proud of this. It's almost like giving, imagine if you gave a true magic wand to a child, and you kind of showed them a little bit of like, okay, so if you shake it like this, a bunny rabbit will appear. And the child's like, what? Oh my God, this is amazing. And you're like, yeah, here, just take the wand and go out and play with it and see what you can create and what it does. That's basically this energy. This is being handed, again, this kind of, it's reconnecting with spirit. It's allowing spirit to place that magic wand of your eternal flame of passion and dreams and hopes and needs that are unique to you back in your hand. And for you to see it with fresh eyes and to understand where your truth actually can wield this, where stepping in to share your truth allows you to get back into understanding the magic of your eternal flame, the magic of your soul. And there's this quality here of, to get past this limiting kind of mindset of like, okay, I get a little bit, I give a little bit, it's almost like I'm getting this feeling of you having learned through just life that you have to give so much to get so much. And that you feel like I have to slave away to get this little bit. It's like believing that in order to become a millionaire, you have to work 24 hours a day, around the clock, slave. Except instead of being a millionaire, you're like, just to make ends meet, I have to work like that. And this is where you realize, wait a second, I have a magic wand at my disposal. Like, I can create whatever I want. If you notice, that's mirrored in the wand that the Empress holds. And that's really where the Two of Wands denotes a choice. making a choice from a place of passion, where to go from here, what you want your life to look like. This is the initial decision of, you can kind of see, I know these cards are a little harder, their images are a little more, if I'd say esoteric, but they're a little less defined than some of the other decks I use. But basically in the palm of this person's hand is an image of the world. And so there's this quality of, this is the first choice in how you want your image of the world to look like from this point forward. And it's going to take you being able to tap back into this magic, this kind of beginner's mindset of, wait a second, I have a magic wand at my disposal. This is pretty awesome. And I want to go out and use it. But what do I want to go out and use it to create? What, again, tapping into that question. If you could create the world of your dreams, what would that world look like? And where does your personal magic fit into that? How can you utilize yourself, your eternal flame, your magic wand to create that, to create a part of that? Because then over here we have the Queen of Wands. And so there's the Page of Wands, the kind of beginner's mindset, the child with the magic wand. And then there's the Queen. And she's well practiced with her wand. She knows how to use it. She knows how to wield it. And in fact, she does very little without understanding how to use her wand. She is somebody who taps into the Empress energy, births her ideas through a place of inspired, what I would consider almost magical passion. She also understands that she can create for herself what she chooses. But she also understands, so this is where this is creating more in the physical. This is using your magic wand, it's being able to just create even on an emotional, spiritual, connected level of understanding what you value. And really being able to tap into that internal magic. And that's what I think you guys are, this is the process, the growth process that you're going through. So you're really being asked here to kind of let go of this limiting mindset of, I have to slave away like a dog to only get this little bit back, and to open yourself up to the magic of the possibility of life. That there is so much more to life. Life is a grand adventure. It's time to get on the horse, get out of your comfort zone, and get out there and see where this new sense of calling is calling you towards. And what do you want your life to look like from this point forward? You have this kind of your chance of reevaluation and a rekindling of your own magic, a realization of what you're truly capable of. And no, we don't have to slave like a dog. We don't have to work 60 hours a week just to make ends meet. There's so much more to life than just that. Life can feel fun while also utilizing our personal truth, following our passions. But we have to understand our own magic first. And we have to make that decision to give birth to that. And that might be kind of scary. That might mean that we have to take very different actions, that we will have to go outside of our comfort zone. But that is what's going to lead to this change in your external environment, to this ability to birth from a place of inspired self-awareness. And that's what's also going to allow you to understand where your truth belongs, where you belong. I get this feeling, Libra, you've kind of felt out of place for a long time. Kind of felt like, well, I'm just not seen for who I am. I don't even know myself who I am. And now you're being shown. You're being guided. And sometimes it's kind of one of those things like, be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. And I kind of feel like, Libra, that's the energy you're sitting with right now. It's this quality of you've been asking for so long to have your hard work repaid. You've been asking for, where do I belong? Asking the universe to allow you to be seen for the powerful person that you are. And yet, now you're getting those answers and suddenly it's scary. It's like, well, wait, so now I have this clarity of myself. Now I have this answer coming through, but now I'm going to have to take action on it. Shoot, it isn't just as easy as all of a sudden, ding, the job falls in your lap, or ding, all of a sudden you're standing in front of a room full of people sharing an idea or a passionate thought, and everybody gets up and is a standing ovation. It's not that easy. It's now having to realize, okay, this is my personal magic. This is my vision for the future. And this is where I see my truth fitting and how to wield it. But now I have to keep taking action from this place, from this perspective. I can't just take one action. I have to change. I've changed. And now I have to live as this person in my external environment. I have to bring this person out vulnerably to walk this path on faith, to realize that this is the only way I'm going to get to here. This is the only way I'm going to realize the vision of the world that I want to see happen. And when I get to those mountains, there'll be a way for me to get over it. I know this. I have faith. And I, in my life, is capable of so much more. And that doesn't mean me having to kill myself to get there. It doesn't mean me having to work an extra 20 hours a week, taking on a second job to reap more benefits. It means I have to simply realize, no, I can have a job that feels good, that will pay me my value, my worth. Or what I get back from working for this nonprofit and being able to work for this charitable cause will be a reward in and of itself. And that's where walking that path on faith, getting out of our comfort zone, is really going to help birth my vision, my view, what I would love to see happen in my external world. Changing on this internal level is really where that's going to then allow this change to be seen on my external environment, or in my external environment. So Libras, I think you guys are really stepping into this beautiful place of leadership in some aspect of your life experience. And it's going to be scary and it's going to be hard, but it's your calling. You're experiencing your calling, and there's nothing more beautiful than that. All right, Libra, I hope this has been an illuminating message. I hope you get a chance to also check out your other 2 readings for the month of August. If you'd like to book a personal tarot reading or a one-on-one coaching session, by all means, click on the link below in the description box to see my list of services. If you don't see something there that you like, you can turn a one-on-one coaching session into a live tarot reading if you want. You just have to put that in the notes. Or you can go ahead and, if you don't see a tarot reading that is specific to something that you would like to have a reading around, just type in the subject that you would prefer the reading to focus on, and I will go ahead and focus on that for you guys. I hope again that you have an illuminating rest of August, and I look forward to reading for you again in September. Bye, Libra.